Welcome back, you guys. This is the Art School Graduate Podcast. I am your host, Justin Robinson, and today, phenomenal creative. So let's just give a little bit of where she's from and what she's doing. So from Lima, yeah, you guys heard that, Lima to Maryland and everywhere in between. This creative is building a creative life on her own terms. In this episode, we dive into her journey as a designer, founder of A2 Collective, and a fearless freelancer shaping the global community through art and service. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Audrey Pray. How are you doing, Audrey?
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I told you, I I do a little bit of homework. It's the teacher in me. I can't just show up and be like, hopefully they get something out of this. I don't know who I'm talking to. No, but
I hope we all do. I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to everybody. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to share. So I'm doing pretty
okay, cool. So let's jump into it a little bit. As a kid, writing rhymes about social issues. My first question is favorite hip hop artist before we continue.
Wow. Favorite hip hop artist.
Yes.
Gosh. Oh wow. It's so many. Okay. Wow, dang. I was okay, so okay, wow. The hip hop has like dance and it got
Yes.
producers, it has dancers, and so it's like, wow, of all hip hop culture, my goodness. Okay, all hip hop culture, I
Yeah.
would have to say Queen Latifah.
Mm.
I'm big on Queen Latifah. If I could meet her, my goodness.
Mhm.
But like all around as a person, phenomenal, like just she's somebody that has dived into so many areas and had
Yeah.
her culture so far for
Mhm.
many different sectors. And so I really admire her and respect her. Favorite rapper, Chance the Rapper is my favorite DJ, producer, Jay Dilla. Like I'm like, right?
Yeah.
It's like when I think of hip hop, it's a lot of people. It's a lot because hip hop's a lot of things.
Yeah. Most definitely it is. So let's talk about it. You wrote rhymes starting with like social issues. And how did that shape who you are today?
Okay, so it's interesting because I was the kid who I don't know if some people may remember, but back when we were like, little ones, they used to have those commercials about like mothers against drunk driving,
Yeah.
bad. They'd have above the influence, they'd have truth. And so
Mhm.
I like at a very young age was very compelled by those messages. I really
Mhm.
wanted to make something that people would remember long after the commercial was over or long after they passed by the billboard. So I don't know why, like, that just it just took a hold and made a home in my heart as far as, like, creation. Like, that was one
Mhm.
of the first areas that inspired me to, like, write poetry. Like, I don't know, it just made me I think as a kid, I just thought about, like, the power of, substances that they have
Mhm.
over people and
Yeah.
how they can really harm us, harm our families, and I think that that was something that I was really drawn to creating about, and so I started writing poems about it, and
Mhm.
then I would make little rhymes about it, and then I wanted to make, posters, so my
Mhm.
biggest dream was to make PSA posters, and I got
Mm.
to try that my first time when I went to the University of Art, for, pre-college, and, we there had, like, a session where we were focusing specifically on making public service announcements. I was really in my bag, and, after I did that, I was like, "That's the only kind of art I wanna do." Like, I was like, "I only want to do art that's about these kinds of topics." And before that, I didn't know the term like social causes or
Right.
what we now say in A2 collective mission driven causes. I didn't know how to say that, but I just like I want my art to mean something. And so
Mhm.
after doing that, like and having that origin, all of my work is focused towards that. It doesn't mean that like everything is super heavy hitting, but
Mhm.
whenever I speak with clients or whenever I talk to someone who, just may want to like put something in my ear, like, oh, I want, would you be interested in this kind of project? I always tell them like, well, our focus is mission driven projects. So
Mhm.
you want to like, support youth, you want to help animals, you want to talk through climate, you want to talk with moms, like all of that is our area in our bag. It doesn't mean that we don't have other things that we'd like to contribute to, but our focus, what we
Mhm.
prioritize are our mission driven causes.
Ooh,
'Cause I don't
listen. Yeah. So during that time of creating, what was your, I would say, weapon of choice or tool of choice when you were going through that early adolescence, besides the pen to paper with rhymes, and then you go to these posters? What was the tool that you chose?
So I started designing in Microsoft Word. I used to, go to like a mall or like a sub shop. And you
Mhm.
see all those business cards on the board together, and I see like, man, they all look so dry. Like, why does this like why is this bakery got at
Yep.
least a cake on it, like, or cookware,
Right.
like? And I like 15, I started my own business card logo company. Like I was like, okay, like I would literally just take a business card, go home, design it, call up the business because obviously I had their business card and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, I redesigned your business card. Would you like to see it? And would you like to buy the design for it?" And that was one of the first ways that I started to like do my entrepreneurship of doing bringing design together, which is like, okay, I want to
Wow.
different businesses do better with
Uh-huh.
communicating about who they are. Because for me, design it gives people confidence. So,
Mhm.
like, for instance, if we were to, like if I was to, like, say, "Oh, like, you wanna have a birthday party, Justin?" "Oh, yeah, Imma have a birthday party, you should come through." And we just talk about it. It's "Alright, cool." Like, maybe I might come through. But if you hand me a flyer or you send me an invite, I'm like, "Oh, snap. Justin having a party, right?" Bigger, like, so it's like it's the same thing now for what we do for mission-driven companies and
Mhm.
organizations. It's like before before it gets to this really glamorous place, it's
Mhm.
really a person with an idea who,
Right.
like, wanna try this thing, and they tell you, like, in a very, like, kind of nervous tone, like, "What I wanna do is I wanna, help this kind of group, or I wanna start volunteering, I wanna bring this together." And, as a designer, you're like, "Okay, let me extract from that, let me start to pull some things together to help you promote this." And then you
Mhm.
see them in 6 months and they're like, "Oh, yeah, this is my brand. This is what we got going over here."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That business owner or that nonprofit, person, like, grow in confidence about the idea that they're called to do. So it's like,
Mhm.
I got to start to put those things together, and all that came from Microsoft Word. So, like, well,
Wow.
I'm a big proponent of, like, design is about solving problems. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter what the tool is, just do it. And
Right.
and and then when you get to a place where, like, all right, like, I know how to now work on Illustrator,
Mhm.
like, I'll get to that, but I knew how I was
Yeah.
already designing before I learned how to work in Illustrator.
Got you. Wow. That's crazy. Microsoft Word. So many other yeah, it's like when you think about it, it's so rigid. It's like Microsoft Word.
I, like, use text boxes and was like,
Yep.
"Alright, like, I gotta make this invisible so this don't show," like, all that stuff, like, figuring all that stuff out, before
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
having
Yeah.
Canvas and all these other things.
So you mentioned just like a few seconds ago that you built your first company, I guess, doing logo design. What was the encouragement behind that? Like, who was the person that put that battery in your back to say, yo, build your own?
Every single time like, it's my mother, every single time. Because my mother, like I told you, I was really into, Above the Influence and
Mhm.
Truth. And so when it came to college, I was like, "That's where I'm gonna work," like, I'm
Right.
gonna reach out to them, get the internship, do
Mhm.
the things. And my mom was just very much like, "But you could do that on your own, like, you don't have to," and that's not what they show you in college. In college, their success rate, their who they are is built on how many people get a job after they graduate. It's not their
Right.
entrepreneurs who start their own business, right?
Right.
So they're very much, like, cultivating that culture, okay, how to become a good employee in this
Right.
place. First thing you have to do is choose a place to be employed. So
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, I've chosen this place, like, isn't it great, mom?" And she was like, I just think that you could do it yourself." And I'm like, "How Imma do it myself?" And I was like, but she, like, brought it back then when she was like, "But didn't you do that logo business back in 15?" Like, I did do that, I did, and
Mhm.
that's where I learned some of the biggest important lessons that I had in business I still carry today during those small L's that I took at that small phase,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
would feel a lot harder to handle. So,
Mhm.
I'm really grateful for my mom. She is and will always be and always has been the biggest proponent of just build it on your own. If you don't see it, build it.
Mhm.
It's there and you see some improvements in it, make the improvements. If they don't wanna incorporate it
Yes.
inside of what they're doing, build your own of it, and I've done
Yes.
that in many spaces. I've done that in college, I've done that straight out of my career, like, and
Mhm.
s I've done that before I had a career, like, it's just like it's just always been a thing of, like, just put your money on yourself. That's why
Yeah.
put your money on yourself, see where it goes.
Yeah. So during that process of putting your money on yourself, where does your faith lie within that?
Man, so we are we I don't have a home church. I didn't grow up going to church, but we prayed every like meal that we ate. And I always pray before I go to sleep, and now I pray for when I wake up too. But faith in God has always been something super deep for our family.
Mhm,
Like I said, church and has not.
mhm,
But as I've gotten older, I've developed a relationship with churches, and so as far as like God goes, that's the captain of the ship. Like when
mhm,
I look at what I get to do,
mhm.
I think of, when we look at like a story like who was the lady in the Bible? She had a cousin. She was pretending that she was like, I think it's almost had her name. It's a lady who she was now married to the king, and
Ruth, Jezebel,
it's not, I don't think it's Esther, but it might be Esther. Queen
okay.
Esther.
Yeah,
It might be Esther. Esther,
okay.
like, her cousin tells her, like, "Yo, like, you should be advocating for our people up there." And she's like, I'll get to it." He's like, "God's gonna do it either way. Like, you can be part of it or you cannot be."
Yeah, very
That's
true.
a big thing for me with faith is that A2, like, people supporting mission-driven organizations through graphic design was going to happen, period. I
Mhm.
get to be a part of that. So I feel like it's a
Yeah.
person that God's chosen that gets to be like the little kid behind the wheel, but God
Mhm.
is driving the vehicle. God is
Right.
doing all the things on the shore, the oceans, the skies, the weather, all of that. I get to be the person that, like,
Yeah.
puts on that role, but
Yeah.
I know that at the beginning and end of the day, and every meal that comes that I'm able to pay for is because of his goodness. It's not because of how smart I am or anything that I've really learned.
Mhm.
It's through the things that he's allowed me to succeed in and the things that he wants me to learn from. So every challenge, every win is through him, and I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, it's I mean, whenever we talk about, like, starting a business, I always tell people, like, it wasn't that I was like, "Yeah, I know enough, Imma start my
Mhm.
business." Like, it was that I was curious enough to know what would happen if I said yes to God,
Mhm.
and I did, and I'm so grateful I did, and every day is about saying yes again, like, "Alright, Lord, you still got me here, and I trust you in
Yeah.
this, so Imma keep going," and the Lord is the one that writes this whole story.
That's powerful. We need to take up an offering and the church say, amen. No, I'm messing with you. No, but that is a great testimony to like just being open and listening and hearing when he speaks. Because sometimes you can miss a lot of stuff by looking for validation through other people when it's like he's validating you to do this by telling you to do it.
Go.
Yeah.
That go. That's all, like
Yeah.
pandemic happened and the Lord was like I was working at a nonprofit at the time. He was like, they came back and they said, "Hey, we're gonna need to cut you all's we have to bring everybody about into
Mhm.
to part-time." And I remember the Lord was like, "You gonna let them keep like jucking and jabbing you or
Yeah.
you gonna trust me?"
Yeah.
At the A lot of people at my job said, "Audrey, it's not the best time to jump
Mhm.
outside this.
Mhm.
Things looking really crazy. People don't
Right.
know it's not the best time."
Right.
And I just remember when they said that, I just remember the Lord telling me, like, as they were talking, they're talking on the phone, the Lord is right here. They
Mhm.
said, "Or it's not the best time." I remember the Lord was just like, there are things that they have not said yes to in their lives that they are trying to clothe as good advice. It's well intended,
Hmm.
but it's just fear that they haven't gotten to succeed over yet. And they are trying to encourage you not to take the risks that they haven't taken themselves. And
Mm.
so I said, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and go.
That's the hardest part when you're just like, thank y'all. I hear you, but I have to do this. And then when you do it, you just close your eyes. You're like, oh, what
You
is
hit that,
going on?
you hit
Yes.
that button.
Yes.
You like, and now it really is in your hands, God.
Yeah.
But,
100%.
like,
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I'm very blessed that I have gotten to take risks. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because we talking about my mom, like, so when I called my mom, I was not afraid to tell her that I did that because I
Mm.
knew that she would be like, fantastic. I've been telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, what? Like, you crazy? Like, why? Like, I knew my mom would be like, yeah, like, we'll
Mhm.
figure it out. We'll do the thing. So I'm very blessed that I've had a family, a person in my life that has been a cheerleader about those things
Mhm.
and showed up for me emotionally, financially, like, in all the ways that I think help us to take those leaps.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's not at all like it was just like only do or die. Like
Right.
I had my support system that was like, you can do this.
That's amazing. I think if more creatives had a support system, I think we'd be running the world right now. I'm
Oh,
telling.
certainly.
Yes.
Certainly.
So So let's talk about this big leap. The first original leap was into art school. What about SCAD brought you to it, and what did you get leaving there?
Okay, so it was really important to me to have an art school that had arts that knew I wasn't going to study, but I wanted them to still be on campus. So
Mhm.
I studied theater in high school, and even though I knew I didn't want to do that in college and professionally,
Yeah.
I wanted to still go to plays, and so I needed an art
Gotcha.
school that had that. Also, because I knew I was going to study design, the art material that they sent to the house, the promotional material, it had to be amazing. Like, I was like, "It has to look amazing. I'm not going with
Right.
anybody who can't promote their own school.
Right.
You can't help me."
Right. You can't get me a job. Look at this. You need to hire me right now to do this.
I'm still currently working on the brand.
Right.
So that was I had high expectations. I was like, "It has to look really great." And I
Mhm.
remember Stub would send I mean, Sky would send this huge book to us,
Yeah.
and that first of all, it was colored. I was like, "They got money? This."
That's how you know you're a designer when you said they sent a book and it had color. Like we all know how much color printing costs, and you sent me a 100-page book for free.
He didn't have interest.
Yes, for free. Oh man, you got money.
Okay, so you have resources. The book
Yep.
was really well done. It was
Mhm.
well explained. I said, "Wow, I think that they know what they're talking about."
Mhm.
So I was really grateful when I went on campus. I loved. I mean, it's amazing because a lot of people know SCAD, but I did not know SCAD. Like
Mhm.
SCAD was not a school that anyone in my area was talking about. Like I literally found the book on the floor in one of my classrooms, and it SCAD on it. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" It looked like just something people were throwing away. But then when I went to the art, the little like college fair, all the lines are super crazy long, and this little lady sitting at this table want to say you SCAD, and she's like, "Hi," and I'm like, "Hey, I saw you all's pamphlet. I found one," and she's like, "Yeah, like." Can I tell you about it? What you want to do and stuff? It was for me, it wasn't for everybody. I think that that's
Mhm.
something that's like really important to remember when looking for colleges. Like, don't get caught up in the hype.
Mhm.
I will say this, I think it's very, very important that the kinds of things you should look for your college to do for you.
Mhm.
I think that because it's an investment, it is
Mhm.
a business. So when you are applying to college, you should know that basically you're applying to be a customer of
Mhm.
this institution. And
Right.
so what kind of expectations do you want to have as a customer? And one of the things that your college should do for you, and my college did very well for me, is that when I get to this job interview, they should already know my school. I shouldn't have
Mm.
to explain what the school is, where it is, what they do. That's what y'all should be doing those 4 years that I'm studying. Going around telling everybody what y'all do,
Mhm.
and that your students are the ones that, they should look forward to meeting
Right.
when it comes to my graduation season, right? So
Yep.
when I got
Yep.
to
Yep.
the was they already knew. And I was very grateful for that, like and I kind of, like because I didn't know SCAD at all, I
Mhm.
didn't at all hold it to this position, but I would go into places and they say, "Oh, where'd you go to school?" And I would say, "Oh, I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design." "Oh my gosh, SCAD!" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Work, that's my money, work."
Yeah.
It's supposed to be doing. So, like, I needed a school that would have the right majors
Mhm.
because I understand that to be the network. Like, I knew I wanted to meet performing arts people. I knew that
Mhm.
I wanted to know directors and editors, even if those weren't going to be my areas. I knew that
Mhm.
leaving school, I wanted to have really strong connections with those kinds of folks. And I knew that my school needed to be doing its own advertising, be
Mhm.
good at it, one, like visually, because
Yeah.
people can also be doing the footwork of meeting
Mhm.
people in the spaces that I wanna be, working with.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's dope. That I think a lot of students now, they kind of just go for the name rather than what is this going to provide for me on the tail end. You know what I mean? Like people are like, "Oh, I can go to," and I'm not saying these are bad schools.
We
Like
love y'all.
out here, out here it's like USC, UCLA, and it's like, okay, you go there. What are you going to get out of it outside of that beautiful name on a diploma? What are you going to get? And I think,
No one actually to see that diploma.
yeah, no one does it. Both of mine are at my mama's house right now. I haven't seen them since I graduated. They up on her wall. Well, man, right? So it's like I get it. So I totally get, like, think doing that research into what the school is going to provide at
Yeah.
the end versus like what you're going to go through is probably super crucial. Yeah. So let's talk about this wonderful opportunity that came to your campus. Everybody's dream, working at Nickelodeon. How did that happen? And what advice would you give to students who are trying to leverage their college network?
Definitely. So, SCAD, I would say this because they're owed it. SCAD is a great school to go to if you are a creative professional and you want to work as a creative professional. Now,
Mhm.
if you are a painter and you like to paint from your heart and you
Yeah.
there is not the school for you because they're gonna have you feeling like I feel like I have to sell my soul because it's to make sure that you are a profitable creative. So
Right.
they are definitely gonna put everything in front of you for that to happen. And if you're
Mhm.
not on that same page, you will just be very misaligned with what's happening. So I
Mhm.
would say my school is very, very good at getting the people in front of us so that we can feel like, wow, we're the first ones that they're talking to. Like they're coming
Mm.
through. They're
That's
like,
dope.
"Oh, Nickelodeon is just one of those big names. You got Disney, you got ESPN coming through, you got
Mhm.
like everybody Netflix probably coming through. Like you got everybody that you see producing with that big where that big sea of content.
Mhm.
Everybody doing that is coming to SCAD because
Mm.
SCAD has that reputation. So they're doing their job. And
Yeah.
I'm very thankful of them that for they actually brought Nickelodeon or Viacom to our school and specifically to our major. So I study
Wow.
motion design, and our major was rather small. And we used to do these things called design challenges. So it's like, in addition to the tons of work and the lack of sleep that you're experiencing, how about you come on over and do something extra?
At
And
least was it one of those 24-hour ones?
it was even shorter. It was
Oh,
like
wow.
maybe like 4 hours or something. There was one night that we had like just all got
Man,
together, and I was like,
that's crazy.
and I'm telling you, I was not that girl. Like, I did not like to do that. I was not that girl. I was not. I would go to like a career fair or something like that, but like I really wasn't like. As soon as you were like, "Oh, let's compete," I'm like, I'm not getting into that with y'all. Like, I'm not doing. I'm not coming
Yeah.
hackathon with y'all. Like, no. So I really wasn't that kind of girl. But like, I was interested in just trying to like be more curious about. Okay, my school is doing the work at the end of this time, I don't wanna have any excuses
Mhm.
about things that I could have did more or invested more into by
Right.
where I landed. So said, "Imma go ahead and go to the little workshop that they got going on." So I went, and there were the folks from Nickelodeon and Viacom, and there was a really great, gentleman by the name of Malik Simmons, who was very kind to me and very interested in seeing me succeed.
Mhm.
And we connected really well there, and then I went through the process, like,
Mhm.
they had a summer associate program at Viacom, and, it was spanned across all the networks that Viacom had at that time, was
Oh.
now Paramount.
Mhm.
So, I went to the interview, I took the bus from, Savannah to New York, got
The Greyhound?
the Greyhound, the Greyhound.
Oh my goodness.
Big, it was big, I think that was the second time I did it, honestly.
Mhm.
But yeah, I went through the process, and it was really wonderful to, like,
Amazing.
you
Good.
talk about a call to mom, like, she was happy about that one. When I called her and I said, "Mom, my
Yeah.
God," I remember just breaking into tears on that call
Ugh.
because it's like, when you think of your four-year career in college, like,
Mhm.
especially the time when we were going to college, everything was about, like, "Hey, this gotta work or this gotta work." Like, there is nothing, it gotta work or it gotta work.
Yeah.
But I was so grateful, like, having that job offer
Mhm.
for me was the equivalent of getting the diploma itself because it was like,
Wow.
"Oh god,
That's
so she
amazing.
say I got the
That's
test.
amazing.
Oh, I can just finish these little tests.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go somewhere and sleep."
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Yes.
So that's how that went about. And then after the program was about I think 8 or 9 weeks in New York, thank God they had housed us. They had, given us where we were housed also had a cafeteria, so they had also subsidized our meals. Viacom at that time had subsidized meals as well for lunch, like, they paid us every week, like, it was a huge blessing, which was
That's
very
amazing.
different than the opportunity that I was disappointed that I didn't get the
Mhm.
summer before, which was when I told you I was like a PSA girly,
Mhm.
and I really wanted to get this internship with the ad council.
Mhm.
And same thing, I went all the way up to New York on the Greyhound bus, and I did amazing in the interview. I'm typically say that, but I did amazing in the interview. And they gave me they said, "Yeah, like, we'd love for you to come," but then it was like, where we can't pay you, and also we're in New York. So it was like, okay, like still in my mind, all right, let's work this out, you know? So I'm like, all right, I got to take out a loan to get an
Mm.
internship. But actually, because it's an internship that I'm going to get credit for, I got to pay for the internship because
Yeah.
it's now. And I was like, wow, this seems like it's financially really stacking up against me. They're not paying me. I got to find housing and I got to pay to do it. I ain't ate nothing yet. So it's like, it's a lot
Right. Right.
else here. And my mom, I remember she told me, she said, she said, "Hey, we can't do it.
Mhm.
We can't, I can't make that big of a financial sacrifice for just you. We still got to eat here while you out chasing your dreams." And I did not at that time understand it. I was so hurt. I was like, I was hurt. I was upset with the Lord. I was upset with my mother. I was like, how I go all the way to New York on a bus and study and work hard. I made this presentation. I did everything. I knocked it out the park.
Mhm.
Lord, how you let me get all these yeses and only to ultimately have to turn it down? What is that?
Yeah.
What was this?
Yeah.
What was
Yeah. And
it
ooh,
taught me a really important lesson of like
yeah.
Following God is not about following what we see as blessings. It's not about following a bunch of things that are going well. It's
Mhm.
about following God. And
Mhm.
so sometimes God can have us on a road where like, wow, there's a lot of checkpoints and a lot of lights going off.
Mhm.
And then you say, yeah, and then I'm about to make this left. You're like, well, Lord, it's dark down there. I don't have no more lights. Like, well, this is where I'm going. Like,
Ugh. Yeah.
let's walking together. Say,
Mm.
but Lord, I really thought we was going this way, Lord. It really looked like we was about to go this way. You can go that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, you'll come back this way eventually, but I'm going this way. And so I had to learn at a very, it was a heartbreaking moment, but I had to
Mhm.
learn that like following God is about following God. It's not about following what feels like success. And
Mhm.
that's what made it even sweeter the next summer when I got this position at Nickelodeon. I'm like, Lord, it's at Nickelodeon. They got
Right.
food
Right.
for, they gonna house them. It all worked out.
Yep.
First time, child, I would have bankrupt my family.
Oh man, yeah, that is a true statement. But it's crazy how it's like we always think what we want is perfect. Like, oh, I am here, I have arrived, I'm good. But then it's like, bet, try this, and you're like, where did you come from? This is way better. And it's like, I told you, I told you. Yeah.
That's the story of my faith with the Lord. It's like
Mhm.
being at moments where you feel like you're at 11 out of 10. You're like, it can't get no better, Lord. And then it
Mm.
ends and you like, God, I don't know how I'll ever see anything like that. And then what your point of reference is for wonderfulness, and then you see his plan, you're like, Lord,
It keeps moving it. It's like he keeps moving the goalposts, and you're like, wow, this is perfect. This is amazing. Really? Try this.
let me show you something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It tells us like, he can do above what we can think, ask, or imagine. And so if
Mhm.
he can imagine it, it means that it's actually not what he can or what all he can think
Mhm.
with. It's just it makes you chase God. It makes you like, well, let's
Yeah.
see if this is what I thought, let me see what you thought. Like,
Right.
what you
Right.
that's the fun of it.
Yeah. That's amazing and interesting though. So I'm curious, how did you stand out amongst everybody? Because Nickelodeon is not picking anybody that's not stepping to the plate. So how did you manage to corral this creative talent plus have God just sitting on your shoulder trying to coach you through this portfolio with,
Yeah.
Viacom and Nickelodeon because they're not picking people that are half stepping. So how did you do that?
I really do believe that that's what I believe that um and when people start talking to hiring professionals and you start asking those kind of questions, like how do you stand out as a candidate? They will tell you that it is of course starts with like, okay, do you have the basic qualifications to do what we need right now? Because we have
Mhm.
what you need to fill. Um, and then it starts with, okay, like, can you do it better than the most people that we're seeing? Like, cool, cool, cool. That's good too. But what really matters is, do we like you? Like, do we want to work with you? Like,
Yeah. That's true.
have a lot of fancy suits and people got letters all behind their names, but at the end of the day, people wanna work with people that they like. People wanna work with people that inspire them or make them feel like they get to
Mm,
themselves that they like to be around. Because 'cause we're talking about going to work and being there at 8 hours, 5 days a week with these folks, and so I wanna be around people who reflect the energy that I'm
mhm,
trying to also get towards, and so I
mhm,
think that I truly, as a believer, I believe that even when people don't feel like they follow God or they don't feel like they acknowledge who God is,
Mhm,
I think that naturally we love God. I think that we got in our soul, we love it. Now, we may not call it God. We may have
mhm,
different ways. We might say like energies. We might call it the universe. We might call it vibes. But I
mhm,
think that like when as believers, when we're trying to reflect the Lord and we are doing that well, like loving, kindness, gentleness, joy, like who don't want to be around that? You know what I mean? So it's like when you bring in that kind of energy that people say, okay, like I
mhm,
actually not only think they're gonna be able to do the job, I think they're gonna be able to do it really well because of what the creativity, but I actually enjoy the spirit that they bring on the team. I
mhm,
think those yeses get a bit easier, you know. So
mhm,
I think like it just all goes back to a word, like when it tells us like to seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will follow. If
mhm.
I'm following the Lord and trying to reflect who He is amongst the world, everything else, like, yeah, I want joy, I want abundance, I want freedom. Sick, all everybody wants to be around that. Bringing that to a team or any environment, being a light in those spaces is a contagious thing, and people want to say yes to that.
Mm. I I believe that, and I try to stress that to my students where it's like, you need to have social skills
Yes, you have to.
because a lot of them lack it because of the screen time. But it's like everything you just perfectly described is what I tell them. Like, they wanna know, "Hey, are you gonna fit in here? Can you outside of this really good portfolio, are you gonna make it dreadful to come to work here? Or are people gonna be excited to see your face?" Exactly what you said, and I firmly believe that, and thank you for setting that example because it's like, I feel like many people are just like, "I just need to do it because it's a check," and it's like, not all money is good money. So
And now, like, with the way that things the way especially when you look at, like, the advancement of AI technology,
mhm,
doing it good, doing it fast, like, those are things I could pay for. Those are services now I could pay for.
right.
Opinions, like, when we talking about hiring a person, Imma need you to be a person. A
Yep.
super
Yes, a human being that is going to actually give feedback and talk and not just be a zombie.
exactly, 'cause if I just want a good design, I can get AI to do that. Chat can help me with that.
Right. Quickly. Right. And I don't need an attitude. They ain't gonna fight me on, "Are you sure you want that color?" It just does it.
Just does it and it's even sometimes it's super free, like,
Right. Exactly.
make me want to invest in this relationship of a person.
So let's talk about this transition. You went from the intern to production associate. What
Yes.
was that transition like? How did that pop up and come about for you?
I would say that, like, that was a rocky transition. As the
Mm,
rockiest transition, like, it's like being on a boat in water and then coming up against some rocks. You're like, "Lord,
mhm,
I don't think that we supposed to be trying to go over this." Like, it's very hard. So,
mhm,
it was like, I had worked there for 8 weeks as an associate, as the summer associate, and I was
mhm,
doing, really things that were, like, production associate-wise. Like, I was
mhm,
going to recordings for scripts. I would see, like, voice actors, like, it's amazing to watch a voice actor, but I go and watch the voice actors. I would adjust the scripts for this, the closed captioning, like,
mhm,
I was really involved in the production of a lot of things that we had going on, and then when I came on as official staff, um it was it shifted very quickly. So,
mhm,
um, my supervisor was our senior vice president, at that time and did not have an assistant. And so as, like, the new person, they kinda started to just put some of those on my list.
mhm,
And I remember at first I thought like, okay, maybe they're just trying to show me like there's some things that you need to have as like as you work in a corporate space, you know, like
mhm.
you gotta know how to work Outlook, like you gotta know
Yeah.
how to look at an Excel sheet and know those things. Like in SCAD, we have never opened up Excel or campus. Never, never, ever, ever. Like, so I was like, okay, I had seen a chart before, but I had
Mhm,
not like ever been a person to do inputs or functions or none of that. And so
mhm.
at first, I thought, "Okay, they're just trying to show me the ropes so I can understand some of these things." But then I was like, "Oh, no, they want you to climb it, they want you to braid the rope, they want you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, I think I'm in trouble." I was like, "I don't think this may not work out because
Mhm,
not only are they, like, they're showing it to me, but
Mhm.
it's now a responsibility, and it's a responsibility that I need to not only do, but I need to do well because I'm being paid to do it. So the
Mhm.
difference between like, like, okay, we're can onboard and show you, and this is a nice to have, and there's a difference even to like, okay, we do it, but then
Mhm.
do you do it to the level of a professional assistant? That's a whole career field. That's like,
Right.
like there's like a handyman and then there's a certified plumber. And that's what, and they need
That's true.
like they need a
Mhm.
master technician. And I was like, I never been there before. And I was really nervous. I was like, I wasn't doing well in my job. It was the
Mhm.
first time that I had ever been in that kind of position. I had, graduated really high with honors and always done well in my classes. So for me to be the person in my team that was struggling, it felt like I'd never been in this space before. And
Mhm.
this is my first job out of
Mhm.
college. Like, I'm very nervous. This does not feel like the good time, right? Be coming up against problems. Like, I'm not doing well in my performance level. My supervisor and I are butting heads because of this
Mhm.
tension. Like, and I'm away from home and I'm in this big New York City and it was
Yeah.
scary. It was very scary. Like, because culture-wise, everything's different. Corporate is very different than, what the spaces were that we were kind of trained for in SCAT. So
Mhm.
we were like, "Let's do mood boards and storyboards." And, like, here's, like, "Make sure you get the lunch and reconcile
Mhm.
the expenses." And I was like, "Reconcile the expenses?" I was like, "What does that mean?" Like, it was just
Yeah.
so I it was not creative in the way that I had been taught to be creative. I
Mhm.
was taught to, like, edit a sizzle, work on some motion graphics, make some lower thirds, and they
Mhm.
were, like, asking me to do things that were not that, and so I didn't do a lot of creative stuff, on
Mhm.
my time in Nickelodeon during the day, I would have to do creative stuff in the instances where things fell off. So, for instance,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
here's another team, had a pitch that they're working on maybe for, like, Ninja Turtles,
Mhm.
and they didn't get it done, and they're like, "Hey, I know you're good with design. Would you be okay with doing this?" It's due tomorrow, of course.
Of course.
Of course, do it tomorrow because the last option was to ask you to do it. It's like, okay. So, then at that moment, you're like, okay, after doing all the stuff all day that I don't know how to do, I got
Mhm.
this maybe one chance to like really show that I'm really good at this thing that you all aren't asking me to do all the time. So
Mhm.
now I'm missing sleep that night and trying to do everything I can to make this amazing proposal. And say,
Mhm.
oh, thanks a lot.
That's it. As they take it from you they're running down the hallway, you're just standing around.
Yeah.
Alright, thanks,
Like, all
guys.
right, I guess I better put in that lunch order. So
Yeah.
so like that, it felt like, man, I was depressed. I was like, "Man, I don't know how this is gonna go, Lord. I don't know." And I felt very betrayed. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
why was I why was I told I would be doing one thing and now I'm doing another? And now I'm
Mhm.
in trouble because I'm not doing good at the things I never said that I could do. Like,
Mhm.
well, what's happening? But you know, God is good all the time, even
And all the time.
when it's glorious, and so those same things that I had to do in Nickelodeon as a production associate and, like, why God me, the same things that I have to do now as a business owner, and
Mhm.
because it's not my first time doing it, I get to benefit while I was learning under that wing of that, like, very big organization of like,
Mhm.
okay, how do I reconcile expenses? How do I do my own travel? How do I make a budget? How do I make a schedule? Like, I know how to do all those things now. And thank God I do them pretty well
Mhm.
because I've gained that experience. But I think most people probably do it the opposite. Most people probably have experiences in a smaller space
Mhm.
and then they go to a corporate space.
Right.
Had my training in a corporate space and I now get to do it for my own business. And
Mhm.
that's huge. So, yeah, that transition was one of the rockiest ones I've ever had, but it is one that I benefit from every day and helps my business be as solid as it is.
That's a perfect segue to my next thought I was gonna have to you because it's like that pivot had to happen when you eventually had gotten laid off from them. So how did that you basically just answered it. So like how did that experience just sharpen your instincts as a leader? Because it's like you just said, you learned on the go.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're running this collective that is just basically almost an a well-oiled machine right now where it's just like cranking out great works. Literally all the works are standing behind um I was about to say thesis. My brain is still in school. Your statement is, so it's just like, wow. So it's like you never know.
You never know, like, that the layoff was I had my mom's a telephone technician or was a telephone technician, she's retired now, but, growing up, when I would hear about layoffs, like, it was in my mind something that happened to older people. It was something that you get laid off
Mhm.
after, like, I don't know, you working, like, for however long. I never knew it to be something that, like or, like, something was happening with the union, like, they used layoff there. But, like, I had never met anyone that was a young person that had been laid off before. So I was like, "What does this mean? Like, am I unemployed? Like, what are all these terms now that we're using?" And, I had already started to because I wasn't getting a lot of creative opportunities there, and I had to make them, like, I volunteered for, like, the Halo Awards. I volunteered for, like, different stuff that was happening, like the Teens Choice Awards. I would work on those things, but those things are after hours and stuff, so I wanted to find some other spaces that I could do that in, and the place that I was living actually, also had programming. They would have, like,
Mhm.
events and stuff, and I remember one day leaving to go to work and I saw one of their posters and I was like, I think they could use some help. So I just went into the office and told them, I was like, hey, like again, the same 15-year-old me, hey, I saw your flyer. It looks
Yeah.
kind of like you could use some help. Would you like some help? And they said, yeah, we would. And I left there with a job that day. I didn't even know I had a part-time job until they were like, hey, like, so can you send these designs? I was like, okay, yeah. So I started working part-time before I left Nickelodeon for another place doing creative post.
Burns out.
And so when I left, there and I told them, I said, "Hey, I got laid off from my job and I'm looking for opportunities." They was like, here it is. Just stay here." And then they made me an intern, then they made me a contractor, then they made me full time.
Wow.
And yeah, so like I got to really I got to like transition very seamlessly in
Mhm.
a very scary time because I'm we were in New York. I'm not from New York, and so
Mhm.
it's like and I don't have family in New York. So when you getting laid off or you have job insecurity in a place where your family isn't, you like I don't have nobody's house to like just not
Lay on the couch.
hey, I don't have that. I got, like, rent that's due, or I gotta go home. Like, that's only 2 there's only 2 options. So, yeah, that transition was very seamless, thank God. Even though it it was like a bittersweet thing,
Mhm.
Like, man, like, when you tell people that you work at Nickelodeon, they think of, like, the best thing they've ever seen on Nickelodeon, think that's what Monday looks like for you. Like, you ought to get slime when y'all walk in the door. Like, you just feel like it's amazing, it feels
Yeah.
what I would do is I would use that to talk to the younger people that I work with. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
on Nickelodeon," and they'd be like, "What? I never even considered that Nickelodeon has jobs." It's like, that's what I want you to do. I want you to think about the fact that there's a whole world
Wow.
behind the things that you're seeing, and that if
Mhm.
you'd like to be part of that world, it's a possible thing. But after I left it, like, I was creating things that I was aligned to. I was contributing to a community that I cared about. I
Mhm.
was like having the autonomy to do it in the way that I liked doing it. Like, mind you, when I was in SCAD, I was like, I never want to be a freelancer. Like, like, I want to have a job that is consistent. I want a desk. I want my assignments. I want it to be very structured. And
Mhm.
so it's very much like God's humor that now I am
100%. Yeah.
and that, I work in a freelance and I work with freelancers, and it's very much God's humor, but I was like, freelance sound like the riskiest thing you could ever do, and now, it's what I do all the time, so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's how that transition went about.
So what inspired the founding of the A2 Collective, and like how has that vision evolved over time? Because now it's like we're talking about you're coming into that freelance space.
Yeah.
Now you're here now. So what inspired this founding of A2 Collective?
So I was working at my nonprofit job. It was the International House in New York,
Mhm.
and I had started to get kind of like a following of a few clients on the
Mhm.
side. So I had my full time role, and then I had my freelance. Um, and what would happen is, people would leave my job and go to another nonprofit,
Mm.
and they would work in a similar capacity And so if I'm talking about a development person, I'm talking about a fundraising person,
Mhm.
they're going somewhere and they want to look good at their new job too. And if they
Mhm.
trust my work, hey, Audrey, we got this new project going on. We don't have someone here to help with it. Would you be interested in helping with it? Well, of
Mm.
course I would. So then we started working together in that job. I'm still working on the first one that I was doing. They said, "Oh, great, this is good," and they leave again, because they're
Mhm.
moving. But now I have 3 different places. I got where they going to,
Yeah.
at where we met. So I started to get like a following of different work experiences at
Mhm.
different nonprofits, in different cause areas, and I was really enjoying that. And I was like, wow, getting to make some money on the side, but getting to
Yeah.
like practice different styles because they all have very different art directions.
Mhm.
And then the pandemic had happened, and I was like, man, I feel like I think it's time. I think it's time. And
Yeah.
what really for us was like, okay, so I do graphic design, but our teams need so much more. They need,
Yeah.
after you build the logo and the branding, they need a website. And after they need a website, they need social media to tell people to come to the website. And then
Yeah.
they need videos. And it was like, wow, they need like a lot more than what I can just offer. And I don't have to be the only person helping them. I had a
Yeah.
lot of friends, thank God, that like the Lord had already started surrounding me with, like,
Yeah.
social people, video people that were, like, also interested in doing their own freelance practices, and I was like, I'm not asking you to come in and work for me. I'm asking that, like, we combine services so
Mhm.
that we can be seamless amongst who we're serving, so they don't feel like, "Okay, I gotta work with this one designer, find them, hunt her
Yeah.
down, and then find and hunt down another web." But
Another
they're
one.
yep.
Yep.
I hope they have the same work habits. So it's like, how can we create something that allows us to have constant work amongst each other, share values, and support each other, and also offer more services to our clients? And that's why we became the collective, and that's why we think of it as like it takes a collective because to support who I am and my artistic growth, I need other people around me who also want to do that same thing. In order
Mhm.
to support a nonprofit who has branding issues, they need a graphic designer, a social media designer,
Right.
and
Man.
they need a collective. They don't need just one person. And so it was more beneficial for us to start collaborating
Mhm.
than to have like our businesses in silos and also
Right.
be more comprehensive for our
Yeah.
clients.
And you know what else? It saves you from burnout.
Yes, that's what the whole thing is about, Justin. The whole
It's Ask me how I know. Girl, trying to do all that at once is exhausting, creatively exhausting. You mentally get done with something, and sometimes you just lay on the floor and stare at the ceiling and just be like, you kind of go into that space of like burnt out.
yeah.
And you're like, damn, I got 3 more of these to do.
And I have to do them.
100%.
I'm a freelancer. I have to do
Because
them.
I already took the deposit, so here we go. Yeah.
I would talk to our team about that. Like, it's so great that you mentioned that because I remember when we built our decks,
Mhm.
we talk about burnout on both sides. So we talk about burnout with our clients in such a way that nonprofits typically don't have very big staffs.
Mhm.
So what usually happens is you have more than many people doing various roles.
Right.
And so they came there because they're good at this thing and they want to support the cause in this way. But we don't have a social media director, so let's just go and throw that on top of you too. And then they start doing things that are outside of their bandwidth, and they're like, "Well, I got to do it because I love the cause, but I'm also
Mhm.
doing what I was hired for, and I'm also got a family, and I'm actually, what? Never mind. I just don't want to work at this place anymore. I can't do it anymore." And it's
Right.
like they burn out from that, and they would
Mhm.
lose very good talent inside of our nonprofit spaces. So we have burnout that's happening for our clients, and then also, like you mentioned, on the creative side, it's like, well, gosh, I'm a graphic designer, but they ask for motion media. So let me go over real quick to Vimeo and like Emotion Array and like learn real quick this one tool that I need for this one project, and then come back over here. And it's like, okay, yes, there is really good sentiment in being someone who knows various areas.
Yeah.
And there's really long lasting sentiment in learning how to collaborate with people that are very good at that as well.
Yeah.
Client deserves your best, which may be the best person not
Yeah.
squeezing in 2 hours a day every learn how to do this thing. It's taking you long.
Oh my god, yes.
They're paying you. This is the first time you're doing it, and they're paying you as if you already know how to do it. That's
Yep.
to some degree not aligned to what we wanna offer them. So I'm paying
Mhm.
you for professional work. You are giving me your very first time doing this. That's not fair. So I was looking, I was like, you know what? We have creatives that are feeling not supported. They're working by themselves and having to stretch to all these different areas. And also we have our clients that are like leaving the nonprofit industry and in droves
Mhm.
because they can't sustain with how much work and the lack of capacity on their team. So
Yeah.
how can we come together so we can support each other and not burn out and then help them so that they don't burn out too?
Mm. So how did you create that sense of like connection across so many like people and projects and locations? Like how do you create that so people still feel that the family you've built, like you've built like a legit, I would say digital family.
Thank
So
you.
how do you create that sense of like connection so people don't feel burnt out? People feel like they can say, "Hey, I don't think I can do this." Because, most times as designers, we're terrified to just be like, this is too much because we kind of feel like people would be like, oh, you can't do it. Oh, I got to go somewhere else. You feel like your worth is in your work. And it sucks to feel like that. But it's not true in the sense of A2 collective. So, how do you keep that connection across everything so safe? Like it's a safe space.
Those are some really important things, and there's some important workplace complexes that have to be highlighted and then broken down. So there are some things that, when you're building a business, you're building a team that you might think that you need to implement.
Mhm,
And you're really only implementing them because those are the structures, the framework that you're coming from.
mhm,
But you actually might, and really interrogating those things, realize that actually they've just created like some hierarchy there that's not necessary, or they've created some like rigid structures that are harder for people to succeed in. Maybe
mhm,
we don't need that here. And so being able to create your own business, you get to not bring those things. You get to say, like,
mhm,
actually, like, guys, this idea of workplace balance or work life balance, let's talk about that.
mhm,
What that means inside of what we're seeing is that life is above work, right? So, like, when people usually say work and life balance, they try to put them at the same level.
right.
That's the first problem there. They should not be at the same
Right. Absolutely not.
so life should always be above work. And
Mhm,
what that means is that you and learn to invite people fully into that space. So they don't need to come in and be trying to like put position themselves as only a designer.
mhm,
Like, I'm not looking to meet just designers. I'm looking to meet friends. I'm looking to meet like people that are like can inspire each other. I'm looking to meet people that I can walk with and that
mhm,
can walk with each other. And so some of the things that we do inside of our AC space are I have never seen it in a corporate space. So,
mhm,
for instance, we do team prayer.
mhm,
Every call that we have, we always like start or end with like, all right, guys, and I just want to check in with you out. Is there anything that we need to be lifting up? Is there anything that's happening in our lives that just want to like keep in mind with each other? Now,
yeah,
some people say, man, I don't know if I want to say that in front of a group, like maybe something really is going on. What I have to do as a leader, if I want to invite people into vulnerability, I have to be vulnerable so that
mhm,
they can feel like, well, dang, if Audrey said that, then my little thing, just
mhm,
so like I go ahead and lead by example and I will share what's going on in my life, if something's going on with my family, if something's going on with me moving, if something's going on heart wise, like
mhm,
share that thing so that we can break that wall down of like, well, dang, I was really just looking at her as the leader of our team. You
mhm,
could look at me as the leader of the team and also as somebody that's walking through something with the Lord at the same time. It's important to remember me as a whole person. And then
mhm,
we all can remember each other as whole people. And then we don't have to do certain things that corporate has taught us that like, oh, we can't
mm.
corporate is really interesting because it'll be like, oh, we can't like corporate will be like, "Yeah, we should keep work and life separate," right? Like, everybody's
Mhm.
like, "Okay." But then they want you to always network and
It's
friend outside of
girl.
I don't
Did you see my face when you said it? I was like, "Ugh, listen,
they wanna invite you out to drink after work, but you're like, "But I thought we were keeping it separate."
listen, I gotta go home. My dog needs to go for a walk.
When is it?
I got you. We're a family, but I gotta fire you. I'm so sorry. We gotta make cuts. I need a new speedboat. My wife wants to wallpaper the bathrooms. It's just like don't you, they give they it's like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Exactly. So
So I know exactly what you told. That's why did you see me? I was like,
exactly. Where you are, I don't understand. You only want to be friends when you want to be friends and the kind of friends you want to be. but not the kind of friend that I tell you, like, "Hey, I need you to pray for this," and you're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
well, why don't
You
we
can't.
pray? Don't
Yeah.
pray." So we
Yeah.
pray over stuff. Like we pray, like somebody going through
Good.
something, we're praying over that because it's gonna show up either way.
Yeah.
Like something's going on in your personal life. What's gonna happen is you gonna stop answering email. You're gonna be late on the
Yep.
phone. And then it's gonna be like, whoa, what's up? So it's gonna show up. So I would rather us talk about it. We could
Right.
pray over it, and then we can make some structural changes to alleviate that stress from you so that you're
Mhm.
doing better, the team is doing better, the client has what they need, and we
Yeah.
all can move forward. But you have to break those complexes first because that's where people are coming from. And like I see it in our team where it's like you mentioned, hey, like guys, this is project. I'll come to you. Hey Justin, would you like to work on this project? Oh, like, I'm kinda like in between stuff, but I mean, how much is it? Yeah, let me do it. And I'm like, I don't know, Justin, you sound like you're not well, you may not be able to do it. And you feel
Right.
that pressure, like, well, if I say
Mhm.
no, she might not come back to me. That's not
Mhm.
true in A2. Like, if you say no to me, what I know the next time is Justin is somebody who knows how to juggle multiple opportunities, even if he has to say no. So I know if I
Mhm.
come to him, he says yes, it means that he actually can do it. And I can trust his yes and as I can trust his no. So it's like
Mhm.
you first have to identify some things, some bad
Yep.
habits that we've learned, break them down as a leader and by
Mhm.
example, and then also invite people to re-understand like, hey, your capacity, you don't gotta lie to me about that. Hey,
Mhm.
I actually need you to learn that you have a such thing as a plate and it gets full. And I
Right.
don't want to work with you in a way that's gonna make you stressed and not make you show up the right way. Like,
Mhm.
and that's not a punishment. That's me loving you. As
Yeah.
a like there's
Mhm.
various things that you have to break down when you wanna create this kind of community, and a lot of them are things that we're taught from,
Yeah.
like like, the time that we become aware about what it is to work, and they have
Mhm.
this new space, you're like, "Yeah, that's not the things we wanna do here." And we're
Listen.
some people here that they don't do there.
Listen, Harvard School of Business, thank you for listening to our TED Talk. She will be showing up Mondays and Wednesdays to help you guys figure out how to change this corporate 18 million year way of doing things. Like that, that's what it feels like when you go into some of these spaces, but it's so refreshing for you to describe. Listen, I know this person on a personal level, so I know this no isn't a no because they don't want to. It's a no because I know maybe their plate is full. Instead of you looking glass half full versus half empty, I feel like a lot of them put the dollar before the person, and then that's where it becomes this. We're family, but I gotta let you go. And it's like we're not family. We do have some family members that we just keep at arm's distance, but it's just we can't just let them go. But man, I feel like you need to put that in a book, turn it into a coursework for a university because that I feel like many people in business don't understand that. You know what I mean? You just like you've been in it and you've seen how it can be very cutthroat, very
Yeah.
aggressive. And it's just like we don't have to do that. Like we can actually care, we can care for these people.
Yeah, I don't want like on you look at job descriptions as a designer, and literally it'll read like we want someone that lives, breathes, and thinks typography. Yeah.
We've got more bullet points than the job description. The job description is 3 sentences, and then you go, well, here we go. And it's like, oh,
I'm
oh,
like,
so this
I don't want someone who lives, breathes, and thinks that way. I
Mhm,
want someone who, when they're in it, they love it,
mhm,
and when they're out of it, they're still good. Like
right.
I don't.
Mhm,
I'm looking for more than just like for you to work to the bone inside of A2. I'm looking for someone like we said we can walk with. I'm looking for people who want to be a part of a community and uplift each other. Now,
mhm,
it's an important distinction because it's like I can meet and I have met some talented designers, some smart business owners, and I will say they have a different culture and they have
mhm,
a different uh, goal than what we're
right.
doing in A2. And
Mhm,
it's important to distinguish that. So you can be a wonderful designer, like we talked about earlier, like what do you want and how you stand out?
mhm,
Know the company culture that you're trying to get into and also know who's trying to get into yours, and
mhm.
it just may not align, and that's okay. Like, no isn't bad. Just like
Right.
I think that we better like as colleagues, maybe we touch base like quarterly, like, but I don't think that it would be like good for us to align and force this when it seems like we have different goals. And that's
Right.
good that I know your goal and you know mine.
Mhm. So what would you say this is kinda like a double thought that just came to me. What would you say is the hardest part about running A2? And what can you say is the most rewarding part about running A2?
Yeah, I was just talking to there's a really, really talented sister by the name of Stephanie Brown. She she has a series called In Between Artists. And I was getting to talk to her last week and she had asked me a similar question. So I'm really glad because I have it fresh on my mind.
Mhm,
But I was telling her like the hardest thing about having a business or working in this kind of way
mhm,
is being fully responsible for things that are out of my control. So, for
mm,
instance, like there might be something client wise that's happening that I might be waiting for an answer on or that I need clarity on. And it's important. Like we can't move forward until like
right.
however, there are other things happening that still need my full attention and I have to be responsible for them. And
Mhm,
so sometimes being in between that space of like, yes, I know I want to do it and I've done I've taken the bar as far as I possibly can, and now I have to just wait. And that's a really hard space because, really you sometimes have done all that you can do and you just need to wait. But again, thanks to the company culture that we have, I can tell my team, like, hey, y'all, I messed up on this. I'm waiting for this. I'm praying through this. And nobody's gonna be like, hey, Ordu's really going through it. That's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal for my team to hear me say like, "Hey guys, like we're working through this thing." I'm very transparent with them.
Mhm.
So they don't feel any type of
See,
red
that's good.
alert when I
That's
do
good.
that kind of thing. Versus if I had it, if I always am just like this over here projecting to them, it feels like, well, all of a sudden, all of a sudden this person who's never talked to you about prayer is like, "Can you all lift us up in prayer?" Like, what's going on? What's going on? Well, so
Yeah.
that's one thing. This my team knows and is I'm very transparent with them about what's happening inside of
Mhm,
projects, what I'm waiting for, but I still hold myself very accountable to okay, but we're still gonna make sure we run payroll. We're still gonna make
mhm,
sure that we get your contracts together. Like I'm fully responsible for those things, and I'm gonna be super transparent with you about how far I've taken that, so that I've done everything I can but we're still waiting for these other pieces that are outside of my reach, and I'll do
mhm,
everything I can to keep you up to date on it. So that's the
mm.
hardest thing is just those moments where you're like, "My hands are tied. I've done everything I can." I know.
Yeah.
That's hard, because I take very seriously, like, making sure that my team is good and, especially being freelance. Freelance, you have some really bad experiences, like, "Girl, they ain't paid me, and this they
Man.
not answering their emails," like, all that stuff happens, and so it's really important to me as a collective that we treat our freelancers very well so that they have good
Mhm,
experience with us. And then the best parts are, um are the wins of, like, when things when things that are not metrics come together. So
mhm.
like, as a business, you always want to be able to run your payroll, pay your bills, it's all
Right.
right that. But like there are some intangible things that we set out to do that are hard to put on paper, but when you see
Mm,
them, you know that it's working. So like for instance, we had a moment like I think last year we had a funder of different, of different organizations that we work
mhm,
with. One of their funders was looking to work with us. I'm really excited about that. We're like, "Wow, that's wonderful." And they mentioned it at, like, sort of almost like a conference that they were all having, and when our name was mentioned in the room, several people started to clap and, like, "Oh, yeah, like, we really love working with they too."
mhm.
It's like, wow, to be recognized in a room when I'm not there pitching it, like, "Hey, guys, this is
Right.
what we do," when they know
That's
this is cooler
cool.
than this, when you're
Yeah.
recognized by the people that you're saying that you serve and they feel served,
Yeah.
that's a win. That's like,
Yeah.
wow, working. It's working. The idea is working. And like when team member become friends and
Mhm,
I don't have to like be the middle person between their friendship and they just have it to live, that means it's working. That means that we're creating connections between creatives that feel uplifting, inspiring, so they feel good. And
mhm.
our clients feel supported and they feel
That's
celebrated,
cool.
want to celebrate what's happening. So those are the things that like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll do this as long as you call me to, Lord. Even though you have those days that you're like, gosh, this is super duper hard. But
Yeah.
on the other end, you're like, but God is working. And so I'll
Mhm.
be here working, Lord. I'll be
So let's talk about one of the most difficult things of business, which is finance. Like,
yeah.
what's your philosophy on charging your worth, especially when working with nonprofits or social impact organizations? Because we all know money is sometimes not there, and sometimes it is, but it's already been claimed. people have already talked about it needs to go for ABC. This is you kind of like design is somewhat at times the last thing that they think about for this. So what's your philosophy on charging your worth working with these companies?
And there's so much important personal work that I've had to do around money to be better at these conversations with our team. There is a really important conversation happening in nonprofit about how money is viewed and how the nonprofit sector is kind of like always supposed to be the sector that's like the charity,
Mhm.
like they shouldn't make the most money. Why we feel that way? I think that there's something in our society that makes us feel like it's wrong for, this person that works at the
Right.
the president of this nonprofit that we're all donating money to be making 300,000 because we're used to some type of corruption. Like, oh, it could
Yeah.
be a scandal. You should wear
Right.
it. Should be but that's nothing if you said that for like, Lord knows, we know that those are in those bigger rooms of Nike are making more than $300,000 a year. It's like, Lord. And
Even their kids is making money.
their kids are making more than right. But if we pay that to our nonprofit director, we're like, I think she's stealing. So it's like,
Right.
why do you feel that way? So it's like there's some type of like guilt that we
Mhm.
have, or some type of discomfort with money that we have inside of nonprofit spaces that like really creates our own challenge and really limits our own success in that. And that's on a personal level, that's on a societal level. And so having to break that down, like, okay,
Mhm.
why do I feel uncomfortable when talking about money?
Mhm.
Like we talked about with those things that you gotta take out of that corporate. And corporate, you're not supposed to talk about people like how much you making, how much something costs. Like that's
Right.
all supposed to be done in the back room, with
Mhm.
like, pieces of paper sliding across the table. But it doesn't need to be that way, obviously, because
Yeah.
when we're working together to make these things,
Mhm.
a lot of times it's to garner
Mhm.
resources. A lot of
Mhm.
times to bring attention to, hey, would you fundraise and do this? And so we start to like, okay, we don't want to equate what we are doing
Uh-huh.
to money because
Mhm.
we just won't be able to. So you working, a nonprofit for 9 years as a single mom and trying to like raise awareness about this cause can't be bought, right? And
Mhm.
so what can be compensated for is the value of the time and the expertise that you gained in that. And so
Yeah.
that's what we can start to price, right?
Yeah.
Because what it costs for me to make a logo as someone who's been working in freelance for 9 years, and what it costs for someone who is an accountant and has never touched Illustrator, it's two different things. And
Mhm.
so some important things that I've had to break down to clients about this. And the important thing to realize is that when we work with teams, a lot of them have never had the privilege of having a design team. And so
Mhm.
when you're used to like,
Yeah.
okay, we're a nonprofit and usually Jerry makes the logos
Right.
and he worked them. So we're not used to like paying for design, right? So
Right.
one of the first things that we have to realize that we're coming to like this is gonna be a shift for them. They're
Mhm.
not used to paying for this. So we're really gonna have to show the value of this. One of the things is like I do not charge based on hours anymore because it's not fair to our team and it puts our client also at a pretty vulnerable space. And when you think
Mhm.
about the creative process, so we talking about you making a logo and I'm going to charge you for ideation. It could take me 8 hours to come up with a good idea. Should I really be billing you 8 hours worth of time? I had to go for a walk, talk
Well,
to my friends, paint a picture, call my mom.
yeah.
I should I be billing
No, I see what you mean. Yeah.
not, maybe not. And then
Mhm.
on the other end, it's like when I talk to clients and it's like,
Mhm.
hey, if we pay hourly for this, like, how much will it cost? And it's like, well, if this designer gets done something in 1 hour and this designer gets something done in 4 hours, this one that gets it done in 1 hour who can do the same quality of work that someone else has to do in
Yeah.
4 hours, they shouldn't make less. They should, if anything, make more because they're doing the value of 4 hours of work in
Right.
one. So
Mhm.
I'm also not going to bill hourly there either, because then they will never reach their financial goal because they're working faster and better. And we should
Mhm.
be better over the years. So it shouldn't take us longer. And especially if
Right.
we've been working with you for a long time, it shouldn't be taking us longer.
Right.
We should be actually faster at it if we
Mhm.
build the right systems. So hourly pricing doesn't do anything but overcharge the client if we're really billing based on how long it takes me to think about something, or it undervalues what the designer is bringing, giving that they can do something faster.
Quickly. Yep.
So
Right.
I charge based on value. I charge based on like it's the value of what this asset is going to do inside of your organization. That's something that we can actually start to calculate. Okay, how long is this supposed to go? How many people is this supposed to reach?
Right.
What does it cost for you to basically have an extra team member on your staff that
Mhm.
you're getting like 6 services for one price inside.
Yeah.
So those are some of the ways that we can start to break down price. But as far as hours, like that was something I learned from my mentor, Dan Mall. He has a really great book. I think it's called Pricing Design. And he taught me that. Like he taught me like
That's
I
good.
mean, at some role at there are different stages in your creative career, and I
Mhm.
think that you should go through all of them. I think you need to charge hourly so that if that's the way that you can calculate and make sense in your mind and tell truthfully to your clients, do it until you reach the point where you're like, God dang, I'm doing designs like in 30
Yeah.
minutes. Not that
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
gotta change, but do all of it so that when you get to that point of like, I charge based on value, you know why. It's not
Mhm.
because I told you you should. You should do it because you've done it and you're like,
Mhm.
that business model don't work for me anymore. So like it's really I think first like taking a look at how do you feel about money? Do you feel uncomfortable with it? Like, is it the last thing that you mentioned in your email? Like, we can
Mhm.
do all of this, and then here's this price that I hope that you accept. It's like, no, no,
Right.
I even had to change the way that I do my proposals. Like, you know what? I'm gonna start with price. Like, I'm not gonna make price this scary thing that we're gonna talk about at the end. We're
Right.
gonna first say what the price is and then show everything that you get inside of here. I'm gonna give
Mhm.
you 3 different options for it. So like it's I would tell clients like it's not fair for us. I wish that you all would just come and tell us what your budget is. But it's not fair for me to have to pick a number between 1 and a million and guess the numbers in your mind. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
and that's really what it is.
Yeah. No, it really is.
They don't know what something should cost because they're not designers. They know how much money they have. That's what they know. And so
Mhm.
can you work within that without making them feel like they've stretched too far? And can you give
Gotcha.
them a number that's not so low that they don't know what they're doing. Never mind.
Right. Right. Right.
Like, So it's
Yeah.
like I'm just like, I'll give options. I give 3 different options inside of
Mhm.
proposals. And so I let the team make a decision like, okay, like, well, this is what we get for this. Okay, this logically makes sense here. Like if we're gonna get more, it costs more. If we opt for less, we get less. Like
Yeah.
and like then they get the autonomy to make that decision. But I'm not doing that anymore. Like pick a number out of a bowl and that's the price. Like, no, I'm not doing that.
That's crazy. Just have a fishbowl there. Let's see who gets lucky today. All right.
I guess it's
Sorry.
day.
Right. Right. So, how do you teach your team to negotiate and advocate for themselves like within these creative contracts? Because I like you said, I know if someone's coming directly to you, they're going to be like, "Oh, she can do logos." But then you also have a social media manager, you have a web designer, you have a UX UI designer. So, how do you teach your team to navigate that for themselves, those
Yeah.
contracts?
So we actually last year had a was it last year or year before last, we did A2 night classes. So it's
Oh.
a part of like our way to support our contractors.
Uh-huh.
So we did a series on like legalities. We had a lawyer do 3 sessions with us, and we also had a business coach do 3 sessions with us.
Mhm.
And then we were gonna also have Dan, but I think we're gonna just have him at a later time, but we bought the book
Mhm.
for the team. So like having people come in and help us like talk through those things. So we talked about like client ghosting, doing contracts in general.
Yeah.
Speed marking, like stuff that like, when our team is inside of our projects, like we handle that. Like A2 handles that. What you sign as a contract inside A2 is like, all right, like this is when we're gonna pay you. This is your rights to your work. So
Yeah.
when you come into a project, you get to focus on just the project. You don't gotta
Right.
like negotiate enough like that. But
Mhm.
because we are A2, we also want you to have the information to be able to do that. So we want to
Mhm.
offer like some educational component too.
Yeah.
So we have those workshops to be able to inform people like, okay, like, what does
Yeah.
it look like for what should I do if I sign a contract with a client and they sign it and then they just don't give me my money? Like, do I call
Yeah.
noise? Or who do I call? Like, cause I feel wrong. Like, and it's like, no, the moment you don't, that's
Yeah.
not the best time to try to figure out how to deal with that moment. Like you want to already know what steps, okay, I need to take to do this before I reach that. And
Mhm.
on all the end is like you're like, okay, who owns the work? Like, and that question is getting weirder and weirder as the days go by. Like, keep
Yeah.
owns the work. How do I know where that line is? So like, that's what we do to support our team so that they in their own practices. Because remember, I'm the creative director, I'm the founder, I'm the project manager, but I am not anybody's supervisor.
Right.
Like you have what you do, but you have now more information and more experience and even people that you can reach out to because we've connected you with them inside of A2 that you can go to places and feel confident. If something go left, you have a team that you can ask to or we can connect you with some folks.
So what tools or platforms or rituals help keep A2 like creatively on track? Because it's just in the world of AI, how do you keep your team like encouraged?
Yeah. So as far as like organized, we use Asana.
Mhm.
I like Asana. I was really nervous about it because I had used Slack before and just like it was just all just a very new world for me. But Asana helps us a lot with like just having things organized and knowing what our priorities are.
Mhm.
I think like for rituals, I think everyone has their own thing that they do to stay creative. So
Right.
a lot of people on our team do a lot of things outside of whatever they do in serving our projects. So
Right.
we have Jess, she has her own coffee business that she's launching. We have Dinya, she bakes. Like we have
That's dope.
Tiffany, she's learning Japanese. Like we have like a lot like Isaac makes skateboards. Like there's a lot of things happening
That's cool.
outside of our team that they do
Mhm.
that I feel continues to give them what they need just outside of our projects.
Mhm.
So I think that that's something that we really love about each other is like being able to share those things, being able to come back and bring that life experience.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
that like people again have time to have lives, that their life is more important than their work. Because
Uh-huh.
overall, like it enriches us. Like and
Mhm.
we get to be better creatives for that. So I think that we're all very passionate about sharing life with one another. Like
Mhm.
I live abroad. Samaya also lives abroad. So it's like we're all very committed to
Mhm.
our lives outside of work. And
Got
so
it.
it's like this what we're doing here it's always just a portion of our day. It's always just a
Right.
portion. And then
Mhm.
outside of that, we're gonna do more things. Like Erica just got her motorcycle license. It's like everybody's doing very different things. That's
That's
something
dope.
I do is I go to museums because I need time away from this screen. I need
Mhm.
time to, like I need time for art to do what it does because we are designers, and
Mhm.
one of my favorite conversations is the difference between art and design,
Mhm.
and I get to have experiences with art, and art doesn't have to answer things, like, art can just throw some stuff out and be like, "And that's what it was, and that's what she said?"
Yep.
You don't have to answer to nobody, and I love that for art. Design has a function to it. It has responsibilities. It has things that it needs to complete. And
Mhm.
so it's nice to go to a museum where there's art and I
Yeah.
get to like have different
100%.
experiences and stand in front of a sculpture and look at a painting and interact with a exhibit. And I
Mhm.
get to have those questions. Like they just go on and on and on. But then that's it. So it's like it's important for us to really invest and make space for our lives
Mhm.
outside of what we're doing with our projects and
Yeah, yeah.
wish for what we're doing.
Dang, that's dope. I'm on the art tip too. I love going to galleries.
Love
It
it.
just it's a nice break.
Yes.
It's a nice break where it's like your brain is like fighting the urge to check your phone when you feel the vibration or something, but it's like a practice of being present.
Yeah, be present, like, go support other art, get out of your own, like, projects, like, I like going to see theater, I love, like, looking at, I love performing arts, I love seeing ballets, like,
Mhm.
I like seeing art, like, I think it reminds me of the
Mhm.
girl that writes rhymes, it reminds me of, like, the beginnings
Dope.
of things of
Yeah.
why we still do this is because it's a part of, like, this sound that we get to make together. But
Mhm.
if I'm in my place with my headphones on and I'm just in here, like, I'm not getting to experience that every way that I want to. It's just one way of doing it. So
Mhm.
I think it's just important to stay connected to the origin and staying, connected
Mhm.
to what's happening outside of the Asana task.
Okay, got you. So let's have a little fun here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you these questions. Give me the first answer that comes to mind. I'll let you let you get some water because these might trip you up. These might trip you up.
Okay. Alright, what's up?
Favorite city for creative inspiration?
New York.
Mm. You can only bring one book with you while backpacking. What book is it?
Double Dutch by
Okay. Favorite quote or scripture that helps you get through the chaos?
First Peter 2:9. It says, "But you are not like that." That's my favorite part. It says that you are not like that. You are God's chosen people, royal priesthood, set apart for distinct purposes, to show the goodness of God. But my favorite part. But you're not like that. Whenever something's on my mind, I'm like, gosh, I'm like pissed about this or I'm upset about that. It's like, man, I don't know why they all get to win like that. And then look at it, but you're not like that. Like you're like that.
Right, right, right. Okay, this one. A must-have travel item that's a non-negotiable.
Have to have a bed sheet that goes across. Like will not be laying on anyone's bare sheets that are not will always stay.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. That's a funny one. That is a funny one because now it's like I think about it, I was like, that is true. It is very true.
Always. And it's family wide, everyone.
That's hilarious. Okay. Canva, design blessing or branding crutch?
Huge blessing. I'm
Broken.
pro Canva and I'm particularly interrogate designers who are not. They're pro Canva.
I was very not. And then I was like, I can't be the old man hating on design. I had to grow with it. And it's like now I find myself like actually towards like the end of semesters, like giving them a little lesson on it because it's like, unless you're going to become a creative, yeah, spend the chips and go get the Adobe subscription. But if you're not, Canva can greatly help you to still trace this dream of becoming a freelancer and a designer until you can afford to do the Adobe subscription.
Let me tell you something. I saw Canva do something that I was like, Photoshop don't even do it that well. Like, when you wanna get in the nonprofit spaces, they don't a lot of times they don't get their logos
Mhm.
files right. So you ask them for their logo files, like, "Oh, we have the JPEG." And you're like, "Do you have the PNG, the Illustrator file? Do you have any in there?" And never had
Girl, you speaking a different language when you say all
like,
that to them.
okay, but what Canva can do, it can take any logo. You can obviously quickly remove the background. That wasn't
Mhm.
the impressive part, but it can change the color of the logo. And so
Mm.
I'm like, I can make all
Wait, in a JPEG, it can change the color of a logo?
can take the JPEG, remove the background, change the color of the logo to white or full black, and you can export it as a PNG. And I was like, huh? Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh, I missed that email. Oh, date. Wow.
I was like,
That's
wow, Photoshop doesn't even do that fast. Like, and that's super
wow.
irritating for our clients. Like,
Yeah.
how many times I'm doing client stuff and then like everybody's logo different colors. Yo.
Man, can you imagine vectoring all those different logos? Oh my god, that's
Exactly. I was like,
we're
wow.
not gonna bring that trauma into the conversation. Okay.
Canva is doing really well and it's empowered.
That's dope.
So I'm like, yeah, it's a blessing.
What's one song that resets your energy when you hit that funk?
Good Life by Kanye West.
Old Kanye. We have to prefix it by saying old Kanye because you
Old
say
Kanye,
Kanye,
no, old
you
Kanye.
you say Kanye West now, people look at you side. What you say?
Nah, this is his graduation Kanye. Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that Good Life, it always puts me in a good mood.
All right, this one. I know that you're gonna probably think about this. What's your go-to comfort meal when abroad when you're missing home?
I wanna tell you something, like, really down home, like something smothered or buttered or but if
That's smothered or buttered.
like, mama gotta make it.
Yeah.
Sour Patch watermelons, if I can find them, I feel pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, like, it's
Uh,
like fine because everything else, I'm okay with cooking myself
mhm.
or going and eating something new, but, like home, if you got some Sour Patches, I'll happily skip away. Like, "Wow, I feel good about this."
You said that's a win. That's a win right there.
I don't ask
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
only you look for Jiffy cornbread. At home, it's Jiffy cornbread, but, like, I'm not gonna come to you with those expectations.
Right. Well, Audrey, we're a few more questions. This is just a wonderful conversation. You're just giving out so many gems on how to functionally run a creative business, which I think a lot of creatives should definitely tap into and listen to. But let's talk about this real quick. What's next for A2?
Wow. So it's I wanna be able to tell you like really solidly like, okay, we have these 5 different goals that we're meeting this year. But I think that right now our biggest focus is to learn better ways to support our teams under this current administration. So there are I would say like 3 of our teams all work in higher education. And of course, with everything that's happening with the Department of Education,
Yeah.
things are happening with DEI. I mean, we are like
Yeah.
we are hard blown like into like diversity and inclusion. So as we see those things taking like a punch, we're really focused on like what does it look like when we need to support our clients past just like what we're making and past our normal support. How do we like Katrina had a really great suggestion of like, okay, what does it look like for wellness support for our clients? Like, how do we do some suggestions, maybe a newsletter for them that like give some practical tips about resources that they can look to, or wellness
Yeah.
we should be pouring to. So it's like, I think that as we see our clients responding to financial challenges that they have, job security challenges that they have. We're just trying to make sure that we are being supportive and more supportive than what we typically are. Because I think that while we're always like trying to grow into different areas, like we want to help with like climate, I would love for us to get into diabetes. I would love for us to be helping with animals. I'm also looking like, wow, Department of education needs us. Like we need to be doubling down in that area, giving support there. They're gonna need voices and they need some support. And the capacity that they had when we met them, which was small, is even getting smaller. So we're gonna have to double down there. So I think that we're taking some time to like think about some of those things because they are different than what we knew we'd be facing at the top of this year. So like while we still have our goals, like, all right, these are different areas that we want to speak into. It's like, all right, but the areas that we're already talking to, what do we do about them? Because they're not in the same spaces that we met them in now.
Right. So, what advice would you give an up and coming designer stepping out in 2025 in this climate? What advice could you give them confidently and just say, hey, trust me on this because I know what it looks like, but trust me on this. This is what your end goal is going to be.
The best part about all of this is that we're designed for this moment. Like God could have chose us to put us in 1930s, 1940s. He could have chose to put us in 3020. Like, but we're here in 2025. And so there's a reason why he selected us to be the graduating class at this time. And so we have to know that we are not our parents' designers and we're not going to be our chosen designers. Like we are designed to create at this moment. So we have everything that we need. And what we don't need is what are called to actually support in.
Yeah.
So these gaps that we see, those are opportunities for us to fill into. They are not anything that we should feel like even less equipped about or something that should be shaking our confidence. They'll be like, you know what? They're parking spaces. That's where you can park. And this is where I can park. And that's where somebody else can go. But it's not that anything is empty, you know? And so that's the thing that I would encourage them about is that when you're going into this very seemingly scary era of designing, you're called to design at this moment. What do you have? What experiences do you have? What even difficulties are you walking with that make you uniquely positioned and called to be designing in 2025? That's huge. Like that's a privilege. Like I view that as a Christian. I view that as a believer. As a designer, it's just like, God, why would you call me to know the word in 2025 as hard as it is to know it? I need 2025 Christians to say it. Okay, cool. I'm part of that class. So the same thing with being a designer. Like I'm a part of the class that gets to design in 2025, which is different than designing in, 1925, which will be different than designing in 3025. So you design for this moment. Go for it.
I hope you guys are catching all those gems she just blessed us with. Well, you guys, thank you so much for listening to my podcast today. My name is Justin Robinson. I had the multifaceted, multi-talented, needs to put all this business info that she just gave us into a book, the talented Audrey. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.